Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of the Splash Sisters. I'm Hana.
And I'm Mev.
And today we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs, which is so exciting. It's finally here. And honestly, I feel like the season flew by. But the playing games is happening. Yesterday, the Warriors lost to the Kings and the Lakers beat the Pelicans. Number 1, we got to talk about how the Warriors got absolutely destroyed by the Kings. Like, it was actually embarrassing to watch. And obviously, the Warriors, where do they go from here? They're just not, they're obviously never going to be contenders again if they keep this team together. And I feel bad for Steph Curry because he definitely does have enough in the tank for himself to lead a team to a championship. But obviously, you need good pieces around you, you know?
Yeah, and if you're a Warriors fan, you just have to accept, that the Warriors are probably going to be mediocre for, another 3 years. And that's only because the Warriors team is not helping Steph. They're not building around Steph. They're not getting him help. So they just have to brace for the fact that they probably won't win anymore. I think
Honestly,
that door is closed.
This season for the Warriors really reminded me of LeBron's first season with the Lakers. He was on a team with a bunch of young players that didn't help him go far. And do you know what the Warriors need to do? They need to, first of all, the Warriors front office needs to pull the Lakers. They need to trade all their young pieces and get Steph that second all-star, superstar, second option, or honestly first option. That if they get someone that could honestly be the first option or close to Steph, they could honestly contend again and obviously fill up the rest of the team. It's going to be hard because I don't know who they trade for. I'm just talking, but that's the only way they win because the Lakers, they saw that Lonzo and Brandon Ingram and they weren't doing enough. It was just not it. So they traded for Anthony Davis, and what did it lead to? A championship. And now the Warriors are kind of in the same thing because LeBron was on a sinking ship, and the Lakers traded for Anthony Davis. Now it's time for the Warriors to trade for someone that can help Steph because we all know Klay is done, Draymond Green is done, Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski, I think that's how you say it. They're not a future for you. They're solid young talents, but I don't ever see them being a franchise star, especially. Yeah, even though Jonathan Kuminga is good, he's not a franchise star.
Yeah, and again, you need to focus on Curry because Curry's not going to be young forever. When he gets to around 38 years old, he's done. So I really think now, they owe it to Steph to help him make another
yeah,
push.
And obviously Jonathan Kuminga, his stock did rise a lot this year because he improved a lot, and that's honestly a lot. He could be it's gonna be hard for him to be the main piece in a trade because people aren't really sure about how good he'll become, even though he was solid this year. But honestly, they gotta trade a lot of their young players if they want any chance. And now, honestly, if you think about it, them trading Jordan Poole was such a mistake because they could have used him too in a trade package.
Yeah, like you said, they could have pulled some early Laker trade, when they did Brandon Ingram and all of them for AD, then they could have gotten a big player like that. But now it's too late. They don't really have much to trade.
Yeah, honestly, their assets are not really that attractive, so it's going to be hard to trade for someone good enough to help Steph lead a team far. And keep in mind, once you trade a lot of your team to get that second star, you're going to have to fill up the rest of the roster. And the Lakers were able to do that, but I don't know if the Warriors are going to be able to do that because just free agent wise, there's not going to be many, and young people wise, they're going to all be gone. Yeah, but the Warriors, they're really in a sticky situation, and who knows, they might not ever contend again. Imagine they trade Steph Curry.
That's definitely not happening. I mean, that could be an option, but there's really no point in trading Steph Curry because if you trade him, they're going to be even worse, and they're going to be a lottery team, so there really isn't a point.
Every year during the playoffs, I love these kind of conversations, and that is, who is under the most pressure to win the season, or who has the most to prove? And Mev, Mev sent out a tweet before, and she asked her audience, who has the most pressure to win the season or pressure in the playoffs? Most of the comments were Jason Tatum and the Bucks. Honestly, Jason Tatum has the most to prove. And that's because every single year the Celtics fall short. And this year they finally have a team good enough or 100% good enough to win a championship. They are literally stacked, and there should be no reason for them not to win it all this year. They're the best. They're the best overall team when it comes to both sides of the basketball, and they have multiple players who are good. Like they have their starting five is stacked. Drew Holiday, Derek White, who they were saying was an all-star all season. Jaylen Brown, the most highest contract in NBA history. Kristaps Porzingis, who's also very good. Like they have enough talent to win it all this year. And if they don't, honestly, the Celtics are going to be scrutinized.
I mean, I see it. Like you said, they are the most stacked team, so they don't really have a choice. They don't have a choice not to win, because they will get slandered into oblivion. And I think that's true. Like for the East, especially, they need to win the East. Like there's literally no reason for the Celtics to lose the East. The East is way weaker than the West, and everyone knows that. But if they make the finals, I think they should get a pass, because I'm not saying they're going to win the whole thing, but they need to make the Eastern Conference Finals. They're the most stacked team in the East, and they are the best team in the league, record-wise. So, but again, I don't know if they can beat the Nuggets, because I really think the Nuggets are making finals too.
Jason Tatum, he is not, everyone knows, he's not the best playoff performer. He's decent, but every single year, he honestly does have a lot of stinkers when it comes to the playoffs. And this year, it has to be strictly consistency, especially if they were to match up against the Nuggets in the playoffs. And the Nuggets have been good this year. They're the second seed, but the Bucks should beat them still. They really should. And honestly, I feel like the Bucks will, not the Bucks. I feel like the Celtics will probably have an underwhelming series against them, and they will be scrutinized. That's just my prediction for the playoffs this year. I really think the Celtics will go to the finals, but they will lose to the Nuggets. And if Jason Tatum plays like a superstar, then I honestly think that he did prove people wrong, because a lot of people do get let down by Jason Tatum a lot as of recently. Like last year, they should have not lost to the Miami Heat, and they did. And they probably should have went to the finals. I mean, I don't think everyone can just expect Jason Tatum to be ass every single year in the playoffs. Like he's gonna have that year. He's gonna have his year, and that very well could be this year. And I really think it will be this year, because Jason Tatum is having a great season, a very underrated season. And just to be clear, Jason Tatum has had good playoffs, but he's never had a superstar level playoffs. Like he hasn't completely went like superhero, like super mode or whatever, or like Kawhi's, like he hasn't had a signature playoff, like season. And honestly, if you mentioned one, probably he's only 19, and God knows how long ago. He really needs to step up and have that signature playoff performance like all the great players in the NBA have already. So the East Play-In tournament is tonight, and my prediction is 76ers 7th seed, Heat 8th seed. And if the Heat are the 8th seed, it's going to be Heat versus Celtics. What do you think about this matchup, Mev?
I definitely think that the Heat, if any team would upset the Celtics, it would be the Heat. And that's because I think the Heat are literally better than they were last year in terms of like roster. What do you think, Hana?
Yeah, the Heat are the Heat definitely have a couple of good players, and last year they really did pull off the impossible. And if there's any team that will upset Boston, it's gonna be the Heat, because Jimmy Butler turns into a different beast in the playoffs. We all know it. People try to dismiss it, act like playoffs Jimmy isn't a thing, but that man just turns into a different player in the playoffs. And the Heat are honestly a lot deeper than they are last year. Jimmy, Bam, Hero, Rozier, Martin, Jovic, Highsmith, Love, Richardson. Might be missing someone, but they have a lot of good pieces. The only disadvantage is that they definitely have a lot less chemistry than the Celtics do because there's been a lot of injuries this year. There's been some trades, so that is definitely a disadvantage. And the Celtics, obviously, they're more top heavy. They have a they have a fire starting five, really top heavy. Like people could argue like five Celtics fans all year were arguing they have five all stars in their starting lineup. But the thing is, their bench is only two players deep: Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard. And we're really gonna have to expect the Celtics starting five to play great every game, especially if they want to win it all this year, because their bench is honestly probably one of the worst in the NBA. I'm pretty sure their bench is the lowest scoring, one of the lowest scoring in the league, and that's really tough for the Celtics. But obviously, that's kind of it doesn't really matter in the playoffs because the starters will play most of the time, so that's why the Celtics will win because they are more top heavy. They are better on both ends, and the Heat's luck has run out. They're probably going to lose in 5 games. But if they do end up like winning a lot more,
crazy.
if they do end up winning a lot more, I will not be surprised. But the Celtics are just that good. I really don't think if it was the Celtics team from last year, honestly, I would have thought this would be a series. But the Heat will probably lose in 5 games, 6 if they're lucky.
I think that's kind of crazy because you know how the Heat are. Like we just said, they got even better from last year, in my opinion.
But so did the Celtics.
Yeah, but Jimmy, you know, like we said, he's always playing better in the playoffs. But you don't know what you're gonna get from Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. Last year, everyone was saying they need to trade them both. Like Derek White outplayed both of them. So we just need to expect Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to play good, and I really do think they're gonna have a good year. I don't think they're gonna go out in the first round.
I think the Heat's
possible.
best chance is trying to limit the amount of threes that the Celtics take, because the Celtics almost attempt as many threes as they do 2-point field goals, which is kind of crazy, and they do nail a good amount of them. Like they can erupt from 3 every game. They almost have. So if they can try to limit the amount of threes the Celtics take and just like overall try and shut them down on the perimeter, I think they do have some good perimeter defenders. It can be a series. But the Celtics, the Heat don't have enough bodies to stop all 5 of those starters. Like Jrue Holiday will go off one game, Derek White can go off one game, Jason Tatum can go off one game. The majority of the times, at least 3 of them will play great. They will win.
Definitely. I just think the Celtics are way too good all around. Like they don't have much weaknesses, and the one weakness is inconsistencies with their star players in the playoffs. But that's basically it, and who knows? Jason Tatum could have the series of his life. I'm hoping so, because I'm a Jason Tatum fan.
Yeah, honestly,
So-
Jason Tatum usually always does amazing in the first round. It's so like when it goes like more rounds past where he starts to like deteriorate a little or just play worse. But yeah, Jason Tatum always goes off in the first round, so I don't think he'll have any mercy on this Heat team. But yeah, the Heat have to step up, especially that they really do have to take a lot of threes as well to match the Celtics. And Tyler Hero is back, and he is you could argue their best 3-point shooter outside of Duncan Robinson. And I even forgot Duncan Robinson before when I was talking about all the good players that they have. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, they honestly are deeper than last year, but the Celtics are just too top heavy. Next up is a potential matchup. If the Heat win today and they're the 7th seed, 76ers will have to play against the Celtics. And this is Embiid's nightmare. The Celtics have owned the 76ers for many, many years now, and it's not going to stop this year.
Yeah, and basically, we know Joel Embiid was injured for most of the year, and I don't know. I just don't think he has enough like help to be a stacked Celtics team. I just don't think it's possible.
Yeah, honestly, I do like the Sixers this year. Like they would have a lot more wins if Embiid never got hurt. They're 31-8 with Embiid this year. But the thing is that even though the Sixers do have a lot of good players, like Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris is also good. Like he's not as bad as people think. Buddy Hield also. Who else? They do have good players. Batum, Campaign, Paul Reed, Kyle Lowry. Yeah, even though the 76ers, I feel like they do have a good team, they still would be no match for the Celtics. The Celtics always the Celtics always have the best game plan around Joel Embiid. They always they always make his weaknesses glare. Like even though in the past they would always like hound him and his passing out of doubles teams was always really bad. But I honestly think it did improve this year. Overall, Embiid's playmaking and passing did improve this year before he got injured. I do feel like Tyrese Maxey isn't enough. If Embiid's playing bad, Tyrese Maxey isn't enough to help them win games. Like people don't realize that the Sixers losing James Harden hurt more than people think. Last season they were so close to beating the Celtics because James Harden was able to take over like 2 games in that series. And also having Maxey on standby. Now they only have Maxey, so if Embiid is being guarded very well, Maxey isn't enough.
Yeah, and I think Maxey, like, he can definitely score a lot, but he's gonna take a lot of shots too. And that's what like the difference will be, because it can't just be like, obviously it's not just gonna be Maxey and Embiid taking shots, but those are your go-to guys. And then if they're getting guarded very well, then the whole offense is just gonna crumble.
Yeah, and even if Philly's role players are stepping up, like Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris, DeAnthony Melton, Paul Reed, whatever, if they're all stepping up, it's still not enough to beat the Celtics. The Celtics always have the best answer gameplay around the Sixers. They always know how to exploit the Sixers. And Jason Tatum honestly always plays great against the Sixers. And yeah, obviously the Celtics are just more stacked. Like the Sixers would have like 0 chance to beat the Celtics. And the Sixers are very unlucky having, like, if they do end up losing to the Heat, the Sixers are very unlucky to play the Celtics in the first round because they are a lot better than an 8th seed. If they are the 8th seed, like, it's just crazy. The next first round matchup is the Knicks versus 76ers. And let me tell you, the Knicks are the most unlucky team ever. Finally, since the Knicks have 50 wins since 2013 and the 2nd seed in the East. And what is their reward? The 76ers in the first round.
Man, it's tough to be a Knicks fan, honestly.
The 76ers are not your typical 7th seed. They are extremely good. And if injuries are the main reason why they're all the way down there, and if they were healthy, everyone knows they would be a top 3 seed along with the Knicks and the Celtics. And the Knicks' reward is having to play a top seed in the first round. How's that any fair?
Yeah, you guys should have to play like the Hawks or the Bulls, but you guys have to play the 76ers when, if Embiid never got hurt, they would be
Yeah,
a top
so
seed,
the 76ers are 31-8 with Joel Embiid, and they have a lot of momentum going into the playoffs. They're on 8 going into the playoffs because they have won 8 straight games. It's going to be really tough to beat them. It really is. And one thing the Knicks have over the 76ers is honestly, I think, team chemistry. I think that we play better as a team. And even though the 76ers are 31-8 with Embiid, the Knicks are 20-3 with OG Anunoby. We barely lost since that man came onto the team. And the Knicks just have, even though star power isn't as good as the 76ers with Embiid and Maxey ever since Randall got hurt, definitely the edge goes star power to them. But the Knicks have a good 1 and 2 punch in the paint with Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson to potentially make it hard for Embiid. And if we make it hard for Embiid, I really think we could win the series, because then I think OG Anunoby could really guard Tyrese Maxey on the perimeter. He is one of the best defenders in the NBA, and if we're stopping Embiid a little, or vice versa, if we're stopping Maxey and just letting Embiid cook, I really think we can. Or if we're stopping both of them, I really think we do have an answer for both of them. And OG Anunoby, if it's OG Anunoby or Josh Hart, I really think our perimeter defense could really help us. And I really do trust OG Anunoby. He takes on the best perimeter defender every single game. How many games do you think the Knicks win in?
Man, I don't know if the Knicks will win. This is gonna be a 7-game series, I think. It's gonna be a 7-game series, and it's a toss-up for me, because I just feel like I don't see Embiid going out in the first round. Like, there's just no way. He's Mr. Second Round for a reason. Just kidding. But I don't know. I just don't know. I don't think the Knicks have enough star power to beat
The thing is,
them.
you could say we don't have enough star power because our only star is Jalen Brunson. But the Knicks 100% have a better overall team, and on both ends. And from last season, I think the Knicks definitely took a huge jump and improvement on shooting. We had our worst shooting games ever against the Heat last year in the playoffs. And now we have Dante DiVincenzo, who's been lights out this year. We have Jalen Brunson, lights out this year. Bojan Bogdanovic, who's such a great shooter. Even Miles McBride. We have even Alex Burks if he decides to get minutes. We have multiple players who can light it up from three. And defensively, too, we have a lot of great players. We're honestly solid on both ends. It's just scary if they try to zone in more on Jalen Brunson and try to defend Jalen Brunson a lot, because then that's when I'm worried about like the rest of the team. They really need to step up if Jalen Brunson gets double teamed or he just faces more coverage. That's what I'm worried about more of the time. But overall, I feel like the Knicks do have a better team, but Joel Embiid is honestly the biggest X factor, because if we can't stop him, we lose. Period. If we can contain him a little bit, I think we do have an advantage because Embiid just came back from injury. We do have a little bit of advantage if Embiid isn't his normal self. So yeah, it's gonna be tough. Like Mev said, I think this is a 7-game series. I think it will go down to the wire, but I really think the Knicks will win. The Heat, honestly,
They have a good team. The Heat have a good team.
they have a monumental advantage in coaching, and Tibbs really doesn't like to adjust if things are happening, which worries me. But overall, I feel like the Heat, it just scares me because I know that for a fact the Heat are going to make it hell for Jalen Brunson. And now people are going to realize how much losing Julius Randle hurt, because a lot of the defensive attention will be focused on Brunson, but if Julius Randle was playing, that wouldn't be happening. And that's happened a lot in games where teams would literally just focus on Jalen Brunson. And if that happens, the Knicks supporting cast has to step up no matter what. And last year that did not happen because the Knicks were having the worst shooting series I've ever seen against the Heat last season, and we honestly were lucky to win 6 games against them last playoffs. But now we do have an advantage because we did upgrade at shooting with Bogdanovic and DiVincenzo. So I really hope if they do double team Brunson, those two will light it up from 3. I really think that's a possibility. Bogdanovic is a vet in this league. He's been great his whole career. And Dante DiVincenzo has been amazing. He's been one of the best 3-point shooters in Knicks history this season. So they better step up. So I feel like we do have a chance because ever since adding in OG and Anunoby, we just look like such a much better team. And I feel like OG can also make it hell for Jimmy Butler. I really do. But overall, the Knicks do have a better team. But like, if the Heat want it more, they'll beat us because they aren't bad either. They have a good roster. They have a big upgrade at coaching. Anything can happen in this series.
Yeah, I think the East is so wide open. Like, it's so unpredictable. Nobody knows what's going to happen. It could be the Heat making the finals again, or it could be the Knicks this year. It could be the Celtics, Sixers.
Yeah, honestly,
there's so many teams.
the only thing for certain is the Celtics are in the Eastern Conference Final, but that second team honestly can be anyone, which is cool. Yeah, honestly, the Pacers are the worst ranked. They're one of the worst ranked defenses in the NBA, and they allow the most points in the paint. So if Giannis plays, it's literally a feeding ground for Giannis and co.
Giannis is gonna get to the paint in every possession. Giannis is one of the most unguardable players. Getting to the rim.
He's the most unguardable player getting to the rim. So the Pacers are really lucky here because honestly, this just feels like an upset alert in my opinion. This happened last year to the Bucks. They're really unlucky. Giannis missed games. The Heat gained momentum. They never lost momentum and they won the series as the 8th seed. Honestly, the Bucks are really unlucky. The same story is happening, but in a different font. And the Pacers might actually cook this team because offensively, the Pacers, they dropped the most points by any team in the league. They're the second most efficient offense in the league, second best offensive rating in the league, and they play at the fastest pace. So the Bucks without Giannis will not be able to catch up to. They will not be able to keep up with this Pacers team. And ever since acquiring Siakam, I don't think there's a player that can guard Siakam on the Bucks. There's not a player that can guard Tyrese Halliburton on the Bucks. It's really up to the Pacers role players to step up, and if they do, they will steal these games that Giannis doesn't play. And who knows, if when Giannis comes back, it might be too late, like it was last season against the Heat.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not guaranteed that the Pacers will beat the Bucks without Giannis.
Do you know what they need?
What?
Dame time.
That's what I was gonna say. If Dame is going to have, I would just hope Dame doesn't choke. I just hope Dame has one of the best series of his life because he has a lot to prove, and this could be the year. And nobody wants to see Dame go home in the first round. Nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, honestly, the Bucks, they do have a lot to prove. It really sucks that Giannis is injured because now they do have an excuse if they lose. But if he comes back, him and Lillard should wreak havoc on teams. They should be one of the best duos in the league. They're one of the most talented duos in the league. There's really not an excuse for them to go far. And I know the Bucks honestly should have tried and stayed a top seed because the Pacers are honestly the worst possible team they could have played in the first round, because the Pacers just got upset written all over them. Like, they will try and upset any team they can, and they have all the tools to, especially offensively. The things Tyrese Halliburton has been able to do for this Pacers team. But Bucks wise, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, Damian Lillard, Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, Pat Beverly, they all have to step up. Because Giannis, if they lose these games while Giannis is not playing, Giannis coming back from injury is not going to be able to will them to more wins, especially if the Pacers have momentum, right?
Yeah, but minus Dame.
The Bucks are not good without Giannis. They suck.
But the Bucks have a lot of playoff experience together. Like, they have had the same team basically for like years now. If they can't get it together, especially with Dame, it's just like they're
if
over.
the Bucks
Like,
if the Bucks are able to win at one game that Giannis sits, they'll win the series. But if they lose the first two games or whatever, it'll be tough, especially if they lose a game or two at home. Then the Pacers go back home, they'll win both of their games at home. The next first round matchup is Cavs versus Magic. I know a lot of people are snoozing at the thought of this, but I think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, the Magic have no playoff experience. They're a really young team, but they have a bunch of dogs on that team. Everyone on that team is good, and there's a reason why they were such a high seed. I don't think they're just going to roll over and die. They're going to give it all they got. They're going to hustle, but the Cavs, obviously, they have a lot to prove from last year. They choked in the first round. They were first round exit. You never really know what's going to happen.
Yeah, the Magic have actually been one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the league this year, and the Heat have multiple players who can light it up from down.
You said the Heat. Oh, fuck.
Should we start over?
No, just say what you were about to say.
Okay, Paris, just make sure he doesn't include that. Just cut that part off. I'm gonna say it again. The Magic have actually been one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the league this year. The Cavs have multiple players who can light it up from 3. That's going to be the biggest factor in the playoffs. Because even though the Magic have been one of the best defenses in the league, they have multiple young players who are quick on their feet and can defend. And that might honestly put a strain on the Cavs shooting. But like Mev said, the Magic honestly have no playoff experience at all. And the Cavs are going to have a lot more to prove and fight in them, because last year was disappointing. I know Jarrett Allen doesn't want another meme made out of him. And I really think the Cavs are going to light it up from 3. They're going to light it up from everywhere. And they tanked. I honestly think they lost games purposely to play the Magic in the playoffs. I honestly think they did. Because they know that this win is honestly secured for them. And I think that the Cavs will win in 6, in my opinion.
I think the Cavs will win in like 5. Just because I think every game will be close, but I just don't think the Magic have enough to beat the Cavs. Like, yeah, it's a cakewalk. It's gonna be a cakewalk for the Cavs.
I think so. I do think that Banchero still has a good series because Mitchell Robinson was great against Evan Mobley and Jared Allen last year. Banchero is a lot more skilled and can get to the rim, and I think that he'll have a great series. But overall, the Cavs have a better overall team, and it's going to be hard to stop them, really. To start off for the West, it's going to be OKC, who is the first seed, and they will play either the Pelicans or the Kings. And out of both of those teams, I think they have a better chance against the Kings because they're honestly better at everything than the Kings are. They have a lot more depth. They're better on both ends. No one is going to be able to guard Shea. Like, they don't have any great defenders on the Kings.
Yeah, and the Kings are just not, like you said, not as good as OKC in any way, shape, or form. You have Shea, Chet, who are already, if not better than Chet, if not better than De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. And wait, that just sounds so bad.
Honestly, the thing with OKC is I honestly think that they're the first seed that I've seen that's honestly not unbeatable. Like, if the 8th seed was the Lakers, I think the Lakers would have won. And out of the Pelicans and Kings, I think the Pelicans have a chance.
I don't think either of these teams have a chance.
The Pelicans 100% have a chance against OKC. And it just sucks because Zion got injured after dropping 40 against the Lakers. But if we're being honest, the Pelicans, they have a lot of talent on their team. It's going to be hard for OKC to guard Zion, Ingram, and CJ McCollum while also having to deal with the rest of the players on the Pelicans who can hold their own. Like, honestly, Jonas Valanciunas, he's bigger than Chet. I think he'll be able to score against Chet. Herbert Jones is going to be able to guard the perimeter. I think that he'll be able to make it hard for Shea or make it hard for anyone there on the perimeter. He's one of the best defenders in the NBA.
Basically, though, if Zion is injured, the Pelicans have no chance.
Exactly. If Zion is injured, the Pelicans have no chance. But if Zion plays, not a single player on that team can guard Zion. Zion would absolutely body Chet Holmgren. He is twice his size. And CJ McCollum, he does show up in the playoffs. He can light it up at any time he wants. And Brandon Ingram too. Like, they just have so many scorers that are like tough to guard. Like, obviously OKC's big three is good, but overall I feel like OKC is very inexperienced. They're young, and that's honestly a big factor. So if the OKC loses, I will not be surprised at all if they lose in the first round. And honestly, I'm probably one of the only people saying these, so
no, I think you're
if
crazy.
I'm right, honestly, I'm just like a basketball like genius if I'm right.
OKC's not losing in the first round.
I never said they are. I said if they do, I would not be surprised, and the Pelicans have a chance to beat them.
I would be so surprised.
If Zion plays.
Very surprised.
Just think about the matchups. Like, who's gonna guard Zion Williamson? Who? I mean, Zion just dropped 40 against Anthony Davis and LeBron James.
I know, but still, like, he is a Zion.
They're
I
mad.
would classify
OKC
Zion
is
as a
mad
playoff
lucky.
riser.
OKC is mad lucky that Zion, if he plays, he'll be injured.
I mean, it'll be Zion. It's not like they have to guard LeBron and AD, because I did not think they could be.
Now, Brandon Ingram. Did you forget about Brandon Ingram, who's literally an all-star level player?
Yeah, but the OKC has a lot of star power. Like, I think they have
Pelicans would have been a higher seed if. Do you know how many? Do you know?
good defenders.
Listen, CJ McCollum missed hella games because of a collapsed lung. Brandon Ingram missed so many games. Zion missed literally like 30 games, I think, or close to 30 games. Imagine if that big three would play together all season. They would have been a top seed in the league. OKC is one of the healthiest teams. Let's just think about it. Their big three missed so many games combined. So that's why I feel like OKC, they honestly, if they play the Pelicans, it's going to be very tough on them. It's just not like a little weak 8th seed. It's not. The Pelicans are going to be tough to beat. Next up, we got a number 2 seed versus number 7 seed, Lakers versus Nuggets. And honestly, this is just a repeat of last season, but in the first round. The Nuggets should win again by 4, maybe 5.
Okay, you're crazy because the Lakers are better this year than they were last year. They're not going home in 4 games.
Barely.
Every single game cut close last year in the Western Conference Finals. All 4 games.
That's what's
came
gonna
down to
happen
the
this
wire.
year. They'll come close and they'll
You don't know
lose.
that. You do not know that. Jokic
I
was
know
making
that.
crazy shots that were not supposed to go in. You don't know that they're gonna go in this year. And
I do know that they're gonna go in this year.
I don't know.
That's
man.
how good
I think
Nikola Jokic is.
LeBron and AD are healthy. They have played more games than they have in years. Especially AD. AD played 74 games this year. I don't
think that really matters because the Nuggets have multiple things that are hard to stop. Number one is Nikola Jokic, best player in the league. You literally have no answer for him. He makes Anthony Davis look like a little man. They're shooting. KCP, MPJ, Jamal Murray, even Jokic can light it up at literally any time. Number three, the role players always step up no matter what. Reggie Jackson has been great this year. Christian Brown is always stepping up. Aaron Gordon is literally the best role player in the league by far. He always steps up. His two-man game with Jokic is literally unstoppable. Sorry, I say literally too much, but KCP is one of the best shooters in the NBA. Jamal Murray, and number 4 or 5, I forgot where I was. Jamal Murray turns into prime MJ in the playoffs. Like, you have to worry about the best player in the NBA, but then you have to worry about his second best player turning into Michael Jordan.
I know, like,
it wasn't the Nuggets are just unstoppable, and that's why they're my picks to win it all this year. They just have so many answers to everything.
We basically just have to hope that the Nuggets just have a bad series. But also, people act like Jamal Murray is this like Greek god.
He is when it comes to
Michael Jordan.
You
don't know
when May May happens, he turns into
that's
a whole
not
different
true. He
animal.
was literally not playing well. I forgot what series it was last year, but in the finals is when he turned that shit up. This is not the finals. I know he has a track record. Like,
he plays amazing against the Lakers. They have no answer for him. The Lakers have no perimeter defenders to match up against these Nuggets.
It took him a while to get hot last year. What if it takes him a while to get hot this year? What if he has a bad series? I just don't trust
Anthony Davis is literally.
I mean, I trust Nikola
Anthony
Jokic.
Davis. Listen, Anthony Davis is not consistent. He will be amazing one game, but the next game be nowhere to be found. LeBron James is still the most consistent player on the Lakers team, and if LeBron James is your main guy over Anthony Davis, they're not going to win because Anthony Davis needs to be that main guy who's consistent every single game. LeBron is 40 years old. He is not enough. His consistency is not enough to overtake this Nuggets team. Especially Nuggets have so much momentum coming off a title, and they've also been great this year too.
Yeah, and my thing is, we know that the Nuggets are better. It's obvious. And the hardest thing for me is AD is just not as good as Jokic. And every time Jokic makes AD look like a baby. I just hope it doesn't happen this year. I just want this to be a good series. I want this to go to 7. I kind of want the upset. I want the Lakers to win. Like, that's going to shake everyone up. But
honestly, I think the Lakers would have been better off purposely losing against the Pelicans.
Everyone knows
becoming the 8th seed and then beating OKC in the first round. I really think they would have beaten OKC. LeBron and AD just are playoff risers. They would have torched OKC. OKC is young and inexperienced, and LeBron and AD would have had their way with them. But yeah, I honestly think that the Lakers have no chance against the Nuggets. If the Lakers beat the Nuggets, I will literally shave my head like Mev said last year, but I will actually do it. I swear to everyone and their mothers that I will shave my head, I swear. But the Lakers have no chance against the Nuggets. It's just not happening.
Bro, I was thinking I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say it.
I'm sorry. I will shave Mev's head. I'm not touching my beautiful hair.
Okay, first of all, I'm nicer hair than you.
No, you don't, dog.
Look at it.
Take off that dog part. That was cringe. But literally, I have like highlights, Mev. You have like dark ass hair. Like,
Okay,
I have some pizzazz in my hair, and I'm getting my hair done on May 9th.
You're ugly.
We're literally twins. You just call
Okay.
yourself ugly. That wasn't the roast you thought it was.
You're still ugly. Okay.
Okay,
I'm kidding.
you're calling yourself ugly. Like, look in the mirror.
Anyways, next one.
Next up, we honestly have the best first round matchup out of all of them, and that's because I have zero idea about who's gonna win.
I know, right? Like, we have KD. KD is one of the best playoff performers in the league, and I don't know about his team. Like, you know Beal. You don't know about Beal, is what I meant to say. You don't know how Beal is going to play, but you know that Booker and KD are one of the best duos in the league, and you know that they're both gonna give it their all, and they're both gonna play really well. And you know, Grayson. Even though I hate Grayson Allen, he's going to be making hella threes, and you know, I don't know. I just think the Suns have good chemistry.
Honestly, I think the biggest X factor for the Suns is Bradley Beal, and that's because if Bradley Beal, like Mev said, Book and KD are gonna do their thing, but if Beal is also playing well, that's gonna be too much for the Timberwolves to handle.
Yeah, the Timberwolves have the best defense in the league, but I don't know if they can defend all four. I don't think they can defend all of them. They just
That would
can't.
be too much for them to defend on the perimeter, because I think the Timberwolves overall are best at defending inside the paint and like in there because of Rudy Gobert. But yeah, the perimeter defenders aren't that crazy to be able to stop all four of those threats from the perimeter. But in my opinion, I feel like the lack of rim pressure for the Suns though is concerning, because we all know Kevin Durant doesn't really take that many shots in the paint anymore. A lot of his shots rely on like the outside portion, because he doesn't really have the same body or like athleticism ever since his injury to get down there easily. And the Suns, in my opinion, they don't have that much depth at all. Like Royce O'Neal cannot be your best player off the bench, and the Wolves' best player off the bench is Naz Reid, who you can argue is the best role player in the league, and he does a lot. And Nikhil Alexander Walker is also good, and so is Kyle Anderson. I feel like they also want it more.
I mean, I don't think so. I feel like KD is going to play crazy. Obviously, Booker, he's going to play well. I mean, the Suns bench isn't that bad. They have Eric Gordon.
Yes, they do.
Come on, they have Eric Gordon. He can literally give you 20 whenever he wants.
On 20 shots.
Nah, but like, I don't know. One day it could be any player on the Suns will cook. It's just, what about like? I feel like more of a big concern is like the Suns' defense. Like how are
Honestly,
they going to defend?
The biggest concern in a Wolves vs Suns series is the Suns' lack of size. Yusuf Nurkic is their starting center. He's their biggest player. Let alone, if you look over the Timberwolves, they have 3 players bigger than him. They have Rudy Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns, Naz Reid.
Yeah, the Timberwolves are just a million times deeper than the Suns, and there's like no way around it. It's just that one thing is star power. And the Suns have Booker and KD, who I'm taking over every single person on the Timberwolves. That's just my opinion.
But overall, the
they just don't
Timberwolves have more of a team dynamic, more chemistry. They have more players who can do everything on the court, like passing, scoring, rebounding, defense, while the Suns are missing a lot of those things.
Yup.
The Suns have a very small team. They really do. They have four small players, not small players, but they have Book, Beal, Grayson Allen, and Book, Beal, Grayson Allen.
Okogie.
Who must be starting, bro?
Oh, starting.
Yeah, and Kevin Durant, who all four of those players don't master in the paint. The Timberwolves are going to make it really hard for the Suns in the paint, and defensively, the Timberwolves are the best defense in the NBA. They have really good defenders in the paint, on the perimeter, so the Suns are really going to have to rely on their big 3 stepping up, and if they don't, the rest of the team is not good enough for the big 3 to not be consistent every single game. Like I mentioned before, the Timberwolves have more of a team dynamic where there's multiple players who can do pretty much everything on the court. There's not 3 players specializing in the same thing.
Yep.
They have 1 player specializing in playmaking, which is Mike Conley, who is honestly an actual point guard. The Suns don't have an actual point guard. They have Anthony Edwards, who can do it all, especially scoring-wise. They have no answer for Anthony Edwards. And Anthony Edwards is also a good defender as well. They have McDaniels, who's also a good perimeter defender and can also get buckets whenever it is needed of him. They have Karl Anthony Towns who can light it up at any time, and he's back from injury, which is huge for the Timberwolves. They have Rudy Gobert who's going to lock down the paint and just be that leader defensively. And they have good people that come off the bench too, like Naz Reid, who in my opinion you could say is Sixth Man of the Year this year. Yeah, I think I really think the Timberwolves have a better team, and they should win in. I think this could go to 7 games.
Yeah, definitely the Timberwolves.
So I think the Timberwolves. I think the Timberwolves. Mev thinks the Suns. How many games, Mev?
Gosh. Okay, whatever. I'm being devil's advocate, but definitely, I think the Suns will win in 7 games.
I got Timberwolves in 7 games. We'll see who ends up being right. Next up, the Clippers and Mavericks has the potential to be like one of the best first round series ever, because both of these teams are very, very good. But one thing is Kawhi, if Kawhi is playing injured or doesn't end up coming back for this series because he's missed a lot of games recently, it's just going to be like a full-on sweep for the Mavericks.
Yeah, Luka is just a beast in the playoffs. And just because he missed the playoffs last year, people like to underrate him. Now he's underrated, so he's going to come back and show everyone what he usually does. He averages 33.5, 9.5, 9 rebounds against the Clippers. That's unreal if you think about it.
In the playoffs, those are his averages in the playoffs, and obviously it was like long ago when he was playing against the Clippers in the playoffs. But overall, they do not have an answer for Luka. They don't have an answer for Kyrie. They don't have an answer for multiple players on the Mavericks, because the Mavs' number one advantage is their size. Ever since acquiring Gafford and PJ Washington, they've been so good, especially at rebounding, because they have Daniel Gafford starting, PJ Washington, Derek Lively coming off the bench, Dwight Powell coming off the bench, even Maxi Kleber. So they have answers for their size, which they've had troubles with in the past. And the Clippers are very small. Like overall, Zubac is their main center, but other than that, they have no other big that can cause problems for the Mavericks.
Yeah, the Mavericks basically upgraded on every end. Their star player is even better than he once was. He was top 3 in MVP voting. I believe he should have won. Kyrie Irving is Kyrie Irving. Not much to say. He's like one of the best players ever. Obviously they upgraded on the big end of the side, like Derek Lively, PJ Washington. They have big guys now. I mean, their team all around is just better, and I think they're also a way better fast-paced team than the Clippers. The Clippers are older, slower.
Honestly, the Clippers just have no answer for the Mavericks on the perimeter or in the paint. The Mavericks are now they're bigger than them. They have a better front court, back court. The Mavericks are going to light it up from 3. They have multiple players who can light it up from 3 and give them problems. And rebounding wise, they're going to out rebound them as well. So it's just and if Kawhi doesn't play, that's just icing to the cake, honestly. Mm-hmm. Like the Mavs should win in 5 games. If Kawhi doesn't play, if Kawhi plays, I'll say 6 games. But the Mavs are winning this series no matter what. Like, there's no chance in hell that they lose. This is the most complete team Luka has ever had in his career.
I agree.
And it's the best team. Like, I honestly think this team could go to the Western Conference Finals.
Definitely. I'm really high on the Mavs this year. Especially because I think Luka is a top 2 player in the world.
Like, we think Luka is good and he's the MVP. Well, when it comes to the playoffs, he gets 10 times better. So we're going to see Luka even better than he was this whole season. And this whole season, he's been, like, not a real person. So, yeah, the Clippers, they've been really good this year. But the fact that they have to play the Mavericks in the first round is really unlucky. Because Mev mentioned they're older and older team. They're not going to be able to keep up with the Mavericks. But the Clippers' big 3 has to step up if they want any chance. And if we're being honest, the Clippers have many playoff chokers on their team.
Yeah, I just think, like, it's either now or never for the Clippers. They're the stars of the team are getting old. But if they are all healthy, then they're gonna give the Mavs a run for their money.
I agreed.